Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Our Parashat Lech lecha, the third parasha in the Torah, and we're starting to speak about Jewish nation. Why? Because we're talking about Noah, Avraham. Avraham is the first Jew, and our parasha starts with the first commandment to the first Jew. What was the first commandment to the first Jew? Lech lecha, go, walk, conquered, see new places, and keep the good work in every place that you're going to. This is the beginning of everything. This is how we're starting our parasha. And God telling Avraham to go from where he was living in that time, Haran, to the land of Canaan. And in the end of the parasha, we have the big, actually major event in Jewish history, even though we're not talking about this event enough. The Brit Ben HaBetarim, how it's called in Hebrew, the ceremony that God did this, vow or unity, Brit, that God promised Avraham that from him will be the nation that God will choose, and they will be slaves, and everything started from this promise in Brit Ben HaBetarim. This is the time that God promised Avraham to go, that his grandsons would be in the promised land, the land of Canaan, in that time. Avraham going with his wife, family, and nephew, Lot. And then this is the first time God promising him the land. And then there is very, very interesting story. Avraham coming to the land of Canaan, and new crazy episode, we can say. Why? First of all, it's hunger in the land of Canaan. God told Avraham to go to Canaan, and it's hunger. How God telling me to come to a place with hunger, with no food? I cannot live in Canaan. No one can live there. So Avraham going to Egypt. And this for itself is very interesting, and there is many discussions about that. Did Avraham did right or wrong? How we can say that Avraham did wrong, but the Ramban, one of the biggest commentaries, one of the holiest commentaries of the Torah, is saying that the story of Sarah that happened in Egypt, it was a punishment to Avraham that he was going to Egypt. He did not supposed to go to Egypt. But this is one opinion, because as our sages learning this story, it was something that God tested Avraham. He told them to come to the land of Canaan, and Avraham coming, and there is nothing to eat. And Avraham did not have a problem in his belief. He stayed believing in God, that he did the right thing, that he came to Israel. It's true that he need to go to Egypt to collect some food, but something good will come from it. And this is exactly what happened in the end. Avraham left Egypt with many gifts from the king and many with big wealth. So according to the sages, and this is of course the simple explanation of the story, Avraham he stayed faithful even though God told him to come to a place that it's hard to be living in. Avraham going to Egypt, and this is the biggest episode that we have in the beginning of the parasha. The craziest story that happened with Avraham. Why I'm saying craziest story? I'm coming to Egypt, and then he's telling Sarah, I know that you are beautiful, and I see that the Egyptians not looking on the suitcases, on the what you're bringing in and out from Egypt, they're looking at you. And this seems to be a problem. What will be the problem? The problem will be that they will take you. This would be the simplest reaction of a faithful husband. He will not want that they will take his wife. But this is what making the story more crazy. Abraham is not concerning about Sarah being taken from him, against the will, of course. He is concerning about himself. He's telling Sarah, please tell the Egyptians that you are my wife. Not my wife, you are my sister. And then they will not kill me. And this is the first question that we have. What's going on? Abraham is not taking care of himself. He's not taking care of his wife. He's taking care of himself. And after we will go into a bit details to understand it. But let's continue summarizing the parasha. Sarah being taken to the king. She's saying, of course, that she's Abraham's sister. She's being taken to the king. God punished the king. Sarah going out from the king back to Abraham with many gifts and wealth. Abraham coming back to Israel very, very big in wealth. And then he approaching his place of living. It's starting from, he lived in few places, in Grar, in Beersheba. And God telling Abraham, stay here now. This is your place. Then start a big war. The first world war that we know of. 5 kings against 4 kings. The 4 kings winning the war against the other 5 kings. But they taking Lot, Abraham's nephew, as a prisoner, as a captured. So Abraham, not thinking twice, is going against the 4 kings for a fight. With who? With Eliezer. And Abraham winning the war, taking Lot back to himself. Okay, very interesting story. Then Abraham deciding that because of this miracle that he won the war, he's not taking anything for himself, everything he's giving to the winning side because of Abraham. So the other kings won the war. So Abraham giving all from the other kings, all the wars, trophies and everything, giving to the other kings. And he promising to give God every 10th of his wealth. Okay. Then there is the story, as I mentioned before, Brit Ben Abetarim. There is probably a word that I'm forgetting right now. What is Brit? Like a vow, like something that's uniting, that God promised Abraham that he will stay with him and his grandsons forever, and they will be the nation that will live in Israel. And then there is another problem. God promised Abraham few times from the beginning of Lech lecha that he will have grandsons. Brit Ben Abetarim also. And he doesn't have kids. And Sarah is so old. They married for I don't know how many years. Maybe 80 years. They married. So Sarah advising Abraham to marry Hagar, her servant. And she become pregnant. And then she starts not respecting Sarah. So Sarah advising Abraham to send her home. Abraham don't know what to do. God telling Sarah, you should listen. Abraham, you should listen to your wife. So he sent her. And then she meeting angels, and angels telling her that you will have a son, his name will be Ishmael, you should go back. And she's coming back and she have Ishmael. And then there is two last things that happening in the age of 99. God revealing himself again to Abraham and commanding him to do the mitzvah of circumcision, Brit Milah. And then he changing his name. Avraham, not Avram, Avraham. And also the name of Sarai changed from Sarai to Sarah. There's many what to discuss about that. But then Avraham, this is the last thing in Parashat, Avraham doing circumcision for himself and circumcision to all his servants and all his people. This is very, very short and brief summarization of the Parashat. 10 minutes. Now, we need to understand, let's go back to the story of Avraham in Egypt. Avraham coming to Egypt. Why? He have no choice. There's nowhere to live. There is food in Egypt. He's coming to Egypt. You see that it's going to be a problem because they're going to take Sarah. He's telling Sarah, you should say that you are my sister, not my wife. Why? If you will be my wife, they will kill me. As we said, the first question is, how come, Avraham? You are a human being. You cannot send your wife without thinking twice. This is first. Second of all, Avraham was a very, very strong person. He was, as we learned just now, after that, hearing the story of Lot, they captured his nephew. He's fighting for his nephew with 4 kings that just won a war, and with Paro for his wife. He's not fighting. What's going on? Very strange. I will just mention, of course it's not a question, but about the love of Avraham to Sarah. We can think, maybe he did not appreciate Sarah so much. There is many ways to understand how much Avraham loved Sarah or appreciated Sarah. First of all, we can see from the story that Avraham buried Sarah. Avraham bought Hebron for Sarah. Why he bought Hebron? Because it was the most respectful place to bury. It's the place that Adam and Chava buried. And he came to the place and no one wanted, everybody said, take it for free. He said, no, I will buy it. And it was very expensive. Avraham put a lot of effort to show the respect that he giving Sarah. And not only that, we know that the Torah said clearly that Avraham talked, he cried for Sarah and he spoke about her greatness after she passed away. What he said in the Torah, it's not written. But he spoke about her. But we know what he said. How we know? In the book of Mishlei, the book that was written by King Solomon, there is one chapter that we're saying every Friday evening, the song of Eshet Chayil that we're singing for our wives. And this is actually the speech that Avraham gave on the grave of Sarah. This whole chapter actually talking about Sarah, and we can see it in many, many places in this chapter. First of all, it's talking, Eshet Chayil mi imtza. Who can find the perfect woman? How you can say this? If you're talking to your wife, she's right here, the perfect woman. So what is who can find? Because Avraham said it on Sarah's grave. This is And there is many details. Kol yemei chayea, we saying that all her life. We're talking about a person that passed away. Avraham. It was the speech of Avraham when on her grave, and you can see how big is the appreciation and the respect that Avraham had to Sarah. Okay, so we need to understand this story. There is many explanations. Many. I will say, first of all, two explanations that we find in the commentaries of the Torah. First explanation is that I mentioned earlier. It was the explanation of Avraham, of the Ramban, that it's saying that that Avraham understood that this is a punishment that he deserved to get because he left Israel. God told him to come to Israel and he left because there was no food. But as I mentioned, this explanation is, of course, it's true because the Rabban saying it. But it's hard to learn it in a simple way. Why? First of all, because our sage is saying clearly in Pirkei Avot that 10 nisyonot, 10 tests God gave to Avraham, and Avraham was good in all the 10. And our sages mentioning the 10 tests, and one of them was the test of hunger in Israel. And our sages saying that Avraham was succeeded in this test. The Ramban saying that he didn't succeed. So we arguing with our sages is how to say. But what she's writing on Facebook, Lina. Elena, no? Prove לי. 1 second. Okay, sorry. I thought she's writing something. Okay. So this is one explanation why it's hard to understand like the Ramban, but there is much more strong proof that it's hard to understand like the Ramban. The story with Avraham continues. Next week we will learn Avraham going to the city of Gerar. And then happened the same story. Avraham telling Sarah, I see that the people here look too much on you. Please say that you are my sister. And the same story happens. The king taking her. So if it was a mistake in the first time, Avraham will do it twice. To say that Avraham is such a tzaddik that have mistake. Okay, he had mistake once. He did this mistake twice. It's hard to say. And there is another. The same story happened with Yitzchak, the son of Avraham, and Rivka. Yitzchak coming to Gerar and he telling his wife to say, you are my sister. Your father did this mistake and now you're doing it. We cannot say that was a mistake. It was something that they did in purpose. I would say another explanation that we have from the Abarbanel. Abarbanel was very big sage in Spain and then in Italy. And his explanations are unique because they are very reasonable. In every story of the Torah, you can start with 20 questions, 15 questions, 12 questions. And in this story that we're learning with Avraham and his wife, he's saying hard words against Avraham in the questions. He's saying, he said, I would prefer to die and not to send my wife. Avraham is afraid to die. I would die if I would know that I have nothing to do and they taking my wife. How you can come to live when you know that your wife is with Paro? It's not a human thing to do. He asking very hard, in hard words against this story. And he have a brilliant explanation. He's saying that if we would look on all the stories in the book of Bereshit about marriage, we have few stories about marriage. We have Rivka that marrying Yitzchak. and we have the story with Dinah, the daughter of Yaakov, we can see that when people want to marry a woman, they're not speaking with her father. They're speaking with her brother. When Eliezer, we will learn in a few weeks that Eliezer coming to find a shidduch, a woman for Yitzchak. He coming to the family, and then he starts speaking with the son, not with the father, about the agreement. And the same story with Dinah, that with Shem wanted Dinah, the daughter of Yaakov, for himself. Yaakov hearing that he wants, but they are not agreeing on anything. Coming the brothers, the 12 tribes, and Shem and Hamor speaking to the brothers. So Abarbanel said, in that time, we see that this was common, or that was the way that you're speaking with a brother about the shidduch. And what? So Avraham said to Sarah, he had a plan. Now I understand that he had a plan. He came to Egypt. He's telling to Sarah, please tell that you are my sister. And then what? They will want you. They will start negotiations. They will say, I don't know, give me that. They will say that we will give you this amount of money. I will say the opposite. And then we'll have negotiations. We will have time to go. To run back to Israel. We will buy food. We will go back. There is a joke that was once a crazy lord, or I don't know, some rich guy, a non-Jew, that owned few villages in the Ukraine, whatever. And he had so much money, did not know what to do with that. He decided that he need to find some teacher to his dog, that his dog will know how to sing. He thought to himself, who will agree to teach my dog? The Jews. So we put a sign in the mikveh or in the synagogue. The Jews, everybody looking, a new sign from the I don't know how to call it, the Lord, or I don't know how to call it. Offering 10,000 rubles for the person that will teach my dog to sing. All the Jews sing and saying he's a crazy guy. But one Jew decided, I don't have money, I don't have a job. He went to the Lord and told him, I will teach the dog to sing. The Lord became very happy. But the Jew said, to learn to sing for a human, it's a lot of time, and especially for a dog. So it will take me 7 years to teach your dog. Give me the money now, and in 7 years, the dog will sing, you will have no problem. Okay? He giving him the money. The Jew is very happy, going to his wife. Very rich, we have everything. What do you want? You want everything we have. So asking him, where do you have the money? So he's telling her, I went to this crazy Lord, and I told him that I will teach his dog to sing in 7 years. So the wife telling him, and what will happen in 7 years? In 7 years you will die. So he's telling her, 7 years. In 7 years, either the Lord will die or his dog will die. They both will not survive 7 years. We will manage. And this is the story with Abraham. He said, I will start negotiations. I will come to Egypt. We'll start discuss. We will stall them, and then we'll come back. But what happened? They took her to the king. With the king, you cannot negotiate. So it's a very good explanation. But then, we have another problem on this explanation. What's the problem? The problem is that we saw in the later story of the Parashat that Abraham had a war with 5 kings. Why he did not have a war with Paro? You cannot negotiate with Paro. Go to a war. It's Sarah. We're talking about Sarah, your wife. So even though this explanation is very good, but we have one question on this explanation. Before we continuing, there is another very, very interesting subject connected to this. Before we going to the final answer. There is, as we know, section in the oral Torah called Midrash. Midrash are stories behind, stories in the side, very interesting things that we have from our tradition, from our sages. For example, we know stories that happened with Avraham when he was a child, that he was thrown to the fire and he survived. And those stories, none of them mentioned in the Torah. Yeah, the Torah starts when Avraham is 70 years old. So these parts are from Midrash. We know them from our sages that heard it since Moshe. There is a genre, there is a section in the Midrash that's called Midrash Pliya. Pliya means wonder. Midrash that it's a wonder Midrash, it's not understandable. There is many Midrash that you read them and you're not understanding what they say. Just, it seems strange and random. Not understandable. In our parasha, there is Midrash that it's called Midrash Pliya because it's very hard to understand this Midrash. And we have very unique explanation that explaining this Midrash in a beautiful way from the Rabbi. The Midrash saying, I will say it in short because it's amazing subject and very long. But the Midrash talking about the verse of the Torah, the Pasuk, Avraham telling to Sarah, I know that you are beautiful. Please said that you are my sister and not my wife. The Midrash said from this Pasuk, we're learning a law in the Jewish law. What law? We learning the law that you allowed to slaughter for a sick person chicken in Shabbat. And I will explain. What is the law? The law is that if there is a sick person and the doctor saying his professional opinion that chicken will help this sick person. You know, the chicken soup cure everything, yes? So the doctor coming and saying, this person should have chicken in Shabbat. So you must do it, because if not, he will die, the doctor said. Now, the question is like that. We have two options. Or to slaughter chicken and to prepare it to the sick person, or to take a chicken that it's not slaughtered and to do it for the sick. What's the question? The question is very simple. Slaughtering is forbidden in Shabbat. Forbidden in Shabbat. If a person slaughter an animal, he deserves a harsh punishment of a person that is slaughtering in Shabbat. It's like doing the worst thing in Shabbat. It's not allowed. So why should we slaughter? If we will take the not slaughtered one, you will eat not kosher, but you're allowed to eat not kosher because he is a sick. So basically the question, the law is, and this is what the Midrash saying, that you allowed to slaughter in Shabbat, even though it's forbidden in Shabbat, to slaughter for a sick person, and you're not giving him the not slaughtered animal. Of course, if it's taking time to slaughter, so the quicker the better. What is more quick, you should do it. But if it's the same time to slaughter and to give a non-kosher, you should give a kosher one. Even though it's not allowed in Shabbat, as we said, to slaughter. We will not go into the details, but there is few opinions why we should slaughter in Shabbat. Why? If you can give him not kosher, but not to pass the laws of Shabbat, not to keep Shabbat, it's according to the Torah, the punishment if a person doing it on purpose with all the details is deserve death. It's very hard. So why we should do it? Why we should slaughter this animal if he can eat not kosher one? So there is many explanations. For example, one of them is that you will either way you will not keep the Shabbat. Why? Because you need to cook. To cook is also not allowed in Shabbat. So also slaughter. But this is just one explanation, but not so clear explanation, because we want to do as less as possible, as less things that forbidden. The Rabbi explaining a brilliant explanation that what is the explanation again, that we will understand how the Midrash, what makes this Midrash very, very strange. How the Midrash understand from what Abraham telling Sarah this law. Abraham told Sarah, I know that you are beautiful, please tell them that you are my sister, not my wife, and then they will not kill me. How the Midrash understand that you should slaughter and not give non-kosher animal? So the Rabbi, in short, I would say it, because the Rabbi asking a simple question. What the Mitzrim thought to themselves? What Abraham thinking that the Mitzrim thought to themselves? You know, they sing a woman that they think that the king deserves to be with this woman. Yes? This woman is married. So what? The Mitzrim are holy people. They don't want to destroy families. So what they will do? They will kill the family, and then they will take her to the king. If you forcing a woman to be with a king, why to kill? What's the difference? Why killing is easier to do than taking a woman from her husband? They don't want to be with a married woman, so they're killing their husband. I just mentioned, by the way, in our days, speaking about killing, no one thinking about it. But I will not talk about it in length. But to be with a married woman is more easy to understand in our days than killing. In the Egyptian, it was exactly the opposite. To be with a married woman, no. To kill, we will kill him. What's the problem? What is this calculation that the Egyptians have? This is the question that the Rabbi asked about Abraham. Why? And he understood correctly. Abraham did this calculation good. That Mitzrim the Egyptian will want to kill Abraham and then to take Sarah. If you want to be with a woman and you so holy, you don't want to be with a married woman, so you're killing the husband? What's going on? And the Rabbi explaining very interesting explanation. What's the difference if you kill the husband or you're not killing the husband? If you're killing the husband, it means that you did one sin. What was the sin? Killing. If you did not kill and you took the wife, so you took a married wife, so every time that you are being with this woman, you are having another sin. It means that the Egyptians have very simple calculation. How many sins we have here? To kill Abraham is one sin. To be with Sarah, I would have 1,000 sins. Do you know Paro? 5 sins every night. So Paro said, I don't want to have many sins. I want to have the less sins as possible. Very simple. I will kill the husband, and then I'm allowed to be with a woman. She's not a married woman. This is the calculation that Abraham did that this Egyptian will do. And then the Midrash saying, now we understand why we are slaughtering a chicken in Shabbat. Why? why we would slaughter a chicken in Shabbat? It's a sin to slaughter a chicken in Shabbat. But this Midrash saying, if you would not slaughter the chicken, so every amount of chicken that the sick person will eat, non-kosher, it will be another sin. To slaughter, it's one sin. To eat this amount of chicken can be 5 sins. So the quantity of sins is winning. That's why we want to do less sins. That's why we're slaughtering in Shabbat. So this, the Midrash learning from the calculation that Abraham did about the Egyptian. Abraham did the same calculation. The Mitzrim will prefer to do as less sins as possible. That's why they will kill me and will take Sarah. Because it's only one sin, not a lot of sin to being with a married woman. So this is the calculation that the Midrash did and learned this law. It's very just a way, of course it's a specific and unique way to learn Torah. That's why Midrash are very interesting, because they're not looking on things on the simple matter. They will see totally different idea that we can learn from it. Totally different subject. That's why they are not in the regular way of learning. They are Midrash. But of course it's Torah, and it's very, very interesting. And it was just an example to see how something that generations did not understand, we can understand. And they have explanation. They are not wonder Midrash. They have explanation. Okay, now let's continue how the Zohar. Back to our original subject. What is the calculation of Abraham? What's going on? Abraham giving his wife away, giving up, not fighting, not just want to save himself. If we're looking in Rashi, Abraham telling Sarah, please said that you are my sister, and then I will be alive. Abraham said, I will have good things and I will stay alive. So Rashi explained, what is I will have good? Itavli. Rashi explained, I will have gifts. Meaning Abraham telling Sarah, please go to the king, leave me alone, in order that I will be alive and I will get gifts from the king. We cannot understand it. But this is the key. The Zohar saying the explanation. Abraham came to Egypt. You see that this is a very dangerous place. And he is looking to the right, to the left. You see no angel guarding Abraham. But he looked on Sarah, he saw angel guarding Sarah. In our, fathers, the wives of the fathers, the mothers of the Jewish nation were a higher prophets than the fathers. As we said in Eshet Chayil, the second verse of Eshet Chayil that Abraham said about Sarah, Abraham said, Batach ba lev ba'ala. Her husband trusts her. Why? Veshala lo yachsar. And there was no problem of wealth, of money. What does that mean? Abraham talked about Egypt. I trust Sarah. And that's why Paro gave me everything that I got, all the money. And this is the key to the story. The Zohar said that every woman, every husband getting all the things that he had from his wife. And it started from Abraham, not only that everything he deserved coming from his wife, The mothers of the Jewish nation were higher prophets than the fathers. And Abraham saw that in this situation, God wanted to show it to Abraham. That's why God showed Abraham, you should not care right now for Sarah. Sarah is protected. You should now start taking care for yourself. That's why it's very interesting. Abraham telling Sarah to say that she's his sister. Probably they spoke with him, not with her, the Egyptian. As we know, in those times, the men were more involved. So why Sarah need to say that she is the sister? Abraham need to say, this is my sister, Sarah. Because Abraham said, okay, I'm out of the story. Sarah need to take charge. And Sarah said, hello, I am Sarah. This is my brother, Abraham. And as the story continues, we see only that Sarah is the woman in charge. When Sarah telling Abraham, take my servant, Abraham taking her. And when Sarah telling Abraham, send my servant away, Abraham, it's hard for him to send Hagar. He's a person of kindness. And God telling Abraham, God did not telling Abraham, send the servant away. God telling Abraham, everything that Sarah telling you, you should do. He's talking in general. You should listen to Sarah. Sarah, and Rashi explaining, Sarah, in that place, in our parasha, Sarah is greater than you in prophecy. She knows. So, all this episode started in Egypt. Abraham realized Sarah is the main prophet here, is the most protected one, and God wants to show it to me. So that's why Abraham, in a terrible situation, is afraid for his life and is afraid more to his wife. So he's giving all the keys to Sarah. Please take in charge. The Rabbi once said something amazing. We know that Sarah had 3 miracles daily in her life. She had the candles burning from Friday to Friday. She had a blessing in the food. Everything she did a small amount, and it was enough for everyone. And always was cloud surrounding the tent. It was a holy place because of Sarah. And the Torah said that when Sarah passed away, it stopped. And when Rivka came, the second mother, the wife of Yitzchak, everything came back, all the miracles came back. And the Rabbi saying something amazing. We know that when a husband is alone in the house, his wife passed away, he's lighting the candles, the Shabbat candles for himself. So Abraham lit Shabbat candles. When Sarah was alive, Sarah did the Shabbat candles. When Sarah passed away, Abraham lived for years, and he lit the Shabbat candles. And then came Rivka, and lit the Shabbat candles. How old was she? 3. She was 3. When Rivka came, Abraham was 940. And his daughter-in-law is 3 years old. When Abraham lighting the Shabbat candles, no miracle there. When Rivka lighting the Shabbat candles, all the miracles coming back. Abraham, our father, in the age of 140, with circumcision in the age of 99, with sacrificing his son, with doing all the miracle things that he did, but to have the miracles that Sarah had, he did not have it. Rivka, the 3 years old wife of Yitzchak, had these miracles. Why? Because the woman, the woman is the responsible of the house. The miracles of the house are absolutely in the hands of the woman. And they were bigger prophets than the fathers. That's why the Torah telling us all this episode to understand something very powerful. We see in the stories always with Abraham, with Yitzchak, with Yaakov, and all the work of the fathers. The work of the fathers was a foundation for our work today. This is the reason why we're learning about them so much. Because everything, and the Rabban explained it, everything that they did, it was repeated by their grandsons, by the children, by us, by the Jewish nation. All the work that they did. They worked in Egypt, they worked in Israel, they worked with non-Jews to explain to them. Everything happened, it was repeated after. And we need to learn from them. And this is what we're learning from this story. We're learning in this story the power of our mothers and from the Jewish wives. They have the foundation of the house. It's true that they have the Abraham doing everything in this, but he got everything that he got from Sarah. Was nothing without the wife that he had. And God told Abraham, you should do everything that Sarah telling you in all subjects. You know, not only about this subject, in general. And this is only give us more appreciation to the respect that Abraham had to Sarah. After that, we understand that exactly the opposite. He respects her so much that he's sacrificing his life. And of course, as a man, he also feels responsible about her, but he's giving everything in her hands. In the most terrible situation that you can imagine. When you're entering the land and you see that the king will take your wife, and if you start to resist, they will kill you. So everything he gave to Sarah. And this is our lesson. The lesson is the power of a woman, of a Jewish woman. And our sage is saying that because of the power of Jewish woman, the Jewish nation will be saved from Galut to the final redemption. So the work of the Jewish woman is very, very important. But the work of the Jewish woman is not the work of the Jewish man. It's two different things. It's not, we're saying that the work of the Jewish woman is higher than the work of the Jewish man. It's two different things. So, this is our lesson today. L'chaim, l'chaim, and Shabbat Shalom.